Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Strange New Worlds, a science and Star Trek podcast. I'm Mike Wong, and I'm here with Elise Cutts.
Elise here. In this episode, Mike Wong and I are going to go boldly into territory we've never ventured into before. The origin of life on Earth. So, the primordial soup hypothesis is currently the leading hypothesis for the emergence of life on Earth. This is because of reasons.
It's definitely the first theory that we've... Not the first.
It was the first theory to really gain some traction.
It's the first theory to really gain prominence in biology. And there's been some famous experiments done concerning this. The Miller-Urey experiment, right?
Yeah. Miller, Urey's grad student at the time, simulated what an early Earth environment would have looked like.
Mm-hmm.
He had some organic monomers, some methane, some ammonia, and heated them, and then used an electrical spark, and found that bigger organic compounds were made, things that were the building blocks of life.
Right. And this is kind of the go-to experiment that we have that has created some of these bigger building blocks. We don't really have any other way of getting that other than with life.
Urey found that when they simulated this environment of early Earth, they were able to make some pretty complex organic molecules.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that phospholipids, when you put them in water, form these bilayers, which form into spherical things.
There's a little bit more information about what's going on. What's the environment like that this life arrives from?
So basically you have a water-poor environment and a reducing atmosphere, and a bunch of organics. And they get energized with maybe lightning. And this creates RNA, the first RNA, which, as you know, replicates and is, in fact, life.
Water poor, but that doesn't sound very soup-like to me.
Okay, yeah, so it's hard to synthesize RNA in an aqueous solution, but in response to that, there were wet and dry cycles, so it was not wet all the time.
So this is why, like, the image of the primordial soup is kind of like a pond, like a...
Primordial pond that gets struck by lightning.
You get struck by lightning.
Much time.
Yeah, but when you actually do the calculations, the amount of energy you would need from lightning to maintain these type of reactions is on the order of like 4 lightning strikes per square kilometer per second. It's like Professor Spunk from Lord of the Stars would say. That's not logical.
Okay.
You see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
Theory is that back then in Earth history, there was no ozone layer. The Earth's surface, and that's where this type of reaction would probably be taking place, is being bombarded by deadly UV radiation. I mean, any life forming would probably die faster than some throwaway red shirt in a random Star Trek episode.
Well, we know that UV rays would kill me outside because I'm made of porcelain. But maybe in the case of early life, UV radiation was not so much deadly so much as a driver of mutation, causing early life to adapt to it.
I see.
Maybe there are some holes, but it's not like you have anything better to offer.
There is the competing theory,
of
course.
The origin of life. Primordial soup is really what we've got.
Alkaline hydrothermal vents, right, is something that's new and up and coming and championed by the great Mike Russell.
So that's pretty hipster. Old. Tell me about this.
So alkaline hydrothermal vents, we just have to take a step back a little bit. What exactly is life? And I think one way to answer this question is to think of it as solving like a redox gradient, solving a disequilibrium in a larger system. Mm-hmm. So think about early Earth as has a very reducing interior because of just the way that minerals change with pressure. And the atmosphere was very oxidizing. In these hydrothermal vents, you have a very reducing interior of the Earth. And the fluids that are coming up in magma, coming up at, let's say, hot spots or near subduction zones, they're very rich in hydrogen, actually. And So that's where that's the reduced part of it. The ocean itself is full of CO2. We know that there's a lot of it dissolved into it. And so you can actually harness the redox gradient in between those two, and that's enough to create life, or enough energy for life to utilize.
Well, I agree that there's a redox gradient there, and that's something that's resolving it. But I feel like you're missing something big here.
What's that?
Life passes on information.
True. And you could theoretically do that in this theory. Have you heard of green rust?
So to be clear, are you suggesting that green rust passes on genetic information?
Well, there's a way we could think of it doing it. See, green rust is a sheet silicate, and you can have, so it spreads out a very long area, and you can have different cation substitutions in there. And if you do it in just the right way, it's almost like a code of binary.
Hold on. I recently learned LaTeX, so you could call me a bit of a programmer. And
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's not how binary codes work.
Plus, another cool thing is that a lot of the minerals that we're talking about that could exist in this environment, such as greigite, if you make the right substitutions in there, it has some eerie similarities to a lot of complicated organic materials that we find utilized in life.
I'm still missing a link between that and, RNA, because there's, not even ribose.
That is one difficulty to overcome, certainly. But I think the big point is that we have this redox gradient, we have the energy source. We don't lack that. The energy.
I don't know. While you have this redox gradient going on, it just seems like too much of a jump to go from green rust to anything replicating like the RNA we see today or the DNA we see today.
It is a pretty big jump. Yeah. Maybe life just started in clays.
Yeah, I see no holes.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I mean, there couldn't have been that much lightning.
That's a good point. Clays, phyllosilicates like green
And
rust.
we don't know how the hydrothermal vents could have come up with.
The crystals grow and they keep defects.
Genetic
That's like
material,
it's like
yeah.
information passing on.
Yeah, actually, it's foolproof.
Yeah, that's it. That's the
I
answer.
think we'll have to conclude this.
Okay.
Uh,
Live forever and
do okay.
dude, yeah.
Yeah. God, wouldn't it be great if the lecture slides had words? You want to create a blooper reel?
It's just
Well,
absolutely crazy.
Okay.
Have you heard of green rust? Green rust. You can do it in a regular or disordered way. Why are you looking at me like that?
An angle.
Just one sec. Hashtag caltech experience. Hashtag astrobio. Hashtag yeah.
Are going to go boldly. I'm something of a lightning strike myself.
No. Okay.
Maybe the energy comes from me.
Hey, Elise, can you hear us?
Lol. She says, I feel like laughs are being had at my expense.
You gotta explain why.
Mitochondria is a powerhouse.
I don't know, it's just not very convincing. Primordial soup, more like super stupid.